Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Let's start off with the usual, which is can you let me know if you can see and you can hear and everything looks and sounds okay? That would be absolutely awesome if you could do that for me. Then we'll go through the usual. We'll say a couple of good evenings and go over some of the topics that I want to cover in tonight's video. And as always, we'll have a session throughout where you can ask me most things. Video, audio, okay? Thank you very much, Stardust. Thank you very much for letting me know that. That's awesome. Okay, so first of all, a quick thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's great to see everybody coming in, and as usual, we'll kind of give it a couple of minutes to let everybody sort of settle in. Then I'll do a couple of good evenings and say hellos. And as always, if you could let me know if you're someone that's been here many times before, put hashtag old into the chat. And if you are new here, do hashtag new. That would be awesome. And thank you very much for everybody to let me know. Yeah. Nice one, Rich. So let's first of all, let's go through and let me know. Like I say, if you are new or old, let me know. That'd be fantastic. If there's an audio lag, I do apologize. I just realized that I forgot to actually plug my internet connection in, so I'm running Wi-Fi tonight, so it might be a little bit of a lag on the actual chat. So I do apologize if that is the case, but bear with me. And if it gets too bad, let me know, and I shall nip off to the back of the room, quietly disconnect, and then reconnect up through the wired. Okay, so let's see who we have in tonight. So lots and lots of old. In other words, we'll call you regulars, because old sounds really quite nasty to say. We'll call you regulars. So let's have a little look who we have in tonight. Let me just quickly scroll up. So Gabrielle, good to see you in tonight. Steve Pro, Stardust Tutorials. I'll do my usual one here. If you haven't checked out Stardust Tutorials YouTube channel, do a little search for Stardust Tutorials, either while we're on the live stream or when it's all finished. Check out his channel. He's got tons of great content for Elementor, for Oxygen, for Bricks, and lots of other WordPress-related content. Check that out. He's doing a fantastic job. And as with everything when it comes to YouTube, it's a bit of a slog. It's not easy to get traction on this. So if you do take the time to go and take a little look at his channel, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to it so you can be notified whenever new content is released. It is something that is incredibly valuable for us creators when we're putting content out there to actually get you guys to actually watch it, to feedback on it, and give us your comments. And that's awesome. So Stardust Tutorials, check his channel out. He's done a fantastic job. Michael Wright, always good to see you in. Rich, good to see yourself in tonight. Thank you for taking the time to join me. Evolve Graphics, great to see you in. Goran, Pete from OGC Digital, The Phrase, Hadia, Daniel, Ahmed. Let's have a little look. Robert Watner, good to see you in tonight. And we've been talking about beers in the chat before we actually started this out, because tonight I've actually come across something I've never seen before in my life, which is what's called a dipper or double IPA, which is my first experience of a double IPA. And apparently they're just generally a little stronger through the brewing kind of technology that's used. And in all honesty, it's actually quite nice for a 7.5% IPA. It's quite nice. So hopefully you've had the opportunity to grab yourself a cold drink today, whether it's a beer or a cold drink of normal variety or a hot drink, depending on where you are. That's fantastic. Okay, so who else do we have in? Let's have a little look. Faberon, good to see you in again tonight. Jeremy, good to see you in. Andy, always great to see you coming in. And Mastigma, good to see you as well. Shuvo, now that's a new name for me. I haven't actually seen that one before, so thank you very much for joining in tonight. Jeffrey, Andrew, new but old. Well, good to see you in tonight anyway, Andrew. Thank you for joining us. Let's have a little look. Shuvo, I think I just said that one, but I've said it again. There we go. Video Boy, good to see you back in this week. Thank you very much for joining in. And Pert, good to see you in as well, new on live, and hopefully you won't be your first time and last time. Hopefully you'll be coming back every 2 weeks to join us and get involved in the conversation. Okay, let's have a little look. So, Matt, good to see you. Sebastian, thank you very much for joining in tonight. Chris Oliveira, always good to see you in. And, well, good to see lots of faces coming in here. Gabrielle, good to see you in as well. Strahinia, I will never get that bloody name right, but thank you very much for joining in tonight. It's been a little while since I've seen you around here, so it's great to see you joining in. Joy, always a pleasure to see you in as well, so thank you very much for joining in. And Hot Pot Marketing, that's an absolutely awesome name. I love that one. That's really cool. Hot Pot Marketing. Awesome stuff. Okay, so If you are new to the live streams, it kind of follows a very simple format. I've got a couple of topics I want to talk about, which I'll give you my opinions on, maybe show you some screen, sort of like some screen recording type stuff as we're going through it. Then I'll throw the questions out to you guys to let me know what you think of what we're talking about. And during this, you can ask me questions. We'll have what's called an AMA, or an Ask Me Anything, within reason. And, you know, you kind of get the feeling. It's a live stream. It's pretty relaxed, pretty easy going. If you want to ask me a question, if you can put #Q, just so I know I can then search against that, so I can make sure I can find out what questions are being asked. But the questions, the only thing I would ask you to do is, if you are asking me a question, don't ask me something like, how do I build a website, and then expect me to sort of show that on a live stream. Let's keep the questions relatively simple and something I can answer in a couple of minutes. Otherwise, yeah, it's probably not going to work too well on a live stream. That's what the tutorials are for. So that's basically it. You know, Sebastian, you know my first language is Spanish. I did not know that, but now I do, and I can't speak Spanish. I do apologize, so it's going to have to be in English tonight. So hopefully that'll be okay, and you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Oh, awesome pronunciation. Thank you very much. It's good to know that I didn't actually butcher the name, because I'm pretty terrible at pronouncing names in general. Bobby Palmer, good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining in, as always. Okay, so let's go through and start off with something that was posted up on the Facebook group a little earlier on this afternoon. Lead crawler, you weren't hidden, I do apologize. It's just flicking back up through the list. It's quite difficult sometimes to see who you have and haven't said anything to. So lead crawler, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining in tonight, and I'll even pop you up on the screen so your comment comes up on screen so everybody can see that you're in here. So thank you very much for joining in. Anyway, okay, Stratos. Yes, I'm using an Apple touchpad. Everything's gone Apple in my setup. So anybody that knows me, anybody's watched this sort of channel, or the sort of behind the scenes in the studio tour, those kinds of things, everything is now Apple except for the one PC, which I literally just keep for just some of the software that I run on a PC. Other than that, everything is Mac orientated. And the trackpad, which is just the standard Apple trackpad, I love them. I think they're brilliant. I could not imagine going back to using a mouse for most things now when it comes to working with this. It just works so well inside the Apple ecosystem. Anyway, cool. Hang on. Bear with me. Suman, good to see you in tonight. Vim, very diplomatic reply. I tried to be diplomatic. So yeah. I'm glad I'm doing a good job on that. Mark, good to see you in tonight. Thank you very much for joining in. Yes, you've moved to the dark side. I have indeed moved to the Apple dark side. But the reality is, as a content creator, it just makes life so much easier. And once you kind of realize that everything is kind of connected to each other, I mean, I've even swapped over from an Android phone now to iPhone 13 Pro Max, which was a bit of a weird stretch. I've kind of got so used to Android phones. But the whole ecosystem behind it just means when you're creating content, it is so much easier. Everything is just connected up to everything else. And I use it with the iCloud, and now I can just literally take a video on my phone, and then I can just quickly dump that into Final Cut Pro. I can edit it, and then I can put a reel up, or I can put something like that up on to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever, which is something I'm trying to do a little bit more of now that I've kind of started getting into it a bit more. So I do actually I've become a full-on Apple fanboy, so I do apologize for that. Okay, so I have fully switched to the dark side. You are absolutely right, Rich. And I don't regret it in the slightest. It's been expensive. It's been a bit of a learning curve. But the reality is it just serves me so much better than what I was using before. The video editing side of things, which I'm doing pretty much every day, it's just so much quicker. Way, way quicker. Even on a cheap, I mean, what I'm running the live stream on at the moment and what I do all my video recording on and everything like that, other than the editing, is basically a bottom of the line M1 Mac Mini, 8 gig of RAM, 256 gig hard drive, and it does everything. So yes, I did say the keyword for Apple, ecosystem, is very, very true. So I can't say any more than that. Anyway, we'll stop talking about Apple and we'll get back onto the topics I want to talk about tonight. Okay, so one of the comments that came up or was posted on the Facebook group earlier on today was about WPMUDEV opening up a free tier for this sort of like website maintenance platform, which I've never really taken a look at. If you're used to coming from something like main WP or managed WP, it's a similar type of thing. And WPMUDEV have a lot of plugins and things. Let me just screen share this with you a second. So they have a lot of different plugins and things that are integrated into their ecosystem. I'm going to say ecosystem a few times tonight, so I do apologize. Don't crucify me for that. But what it does is it gives you the ability to manage and maintain websites in the same way that main WP and managed WP kind of do. So I'd never actually seen it, didn't know anything about it. I signed up for the free plan earlier on to take a little look at it. So if this is something that you've never seen, we'll take a quick look through together and I can kind of show you what it's like. I may do a video on it. I'm not really 100% sold on it right now, but I've literally spent about 10 minutes playing about with it. So this is kind of what we're talking about, which is you can kind of get a location dashboard that you can manage multiple websites. And if we take a look at the pricing first of all, which I think if we go to pricing on here, we should be able to pull that info up. Bear with me. Let's have a little look. Yeah, there we go. So you have the free plan, which gives you all of the free plugins, full hub features. I think it gives you 1 GB of storage to manage and maintain your backups and things like that on. So if you're running maybe 1 or 2 sites, this might be something that's worthwhile to give you that peace of mind to have backups that are not necessarily tied in specifically to your hosting company. You have somewhere separate to that, so all your eggs are not in that one basket. So yeah, this is the current plan that I'm doing. Like I say, unlimited site license with all free plugins and the full hub features. By saying full hub features, it's not strictly 100% exactly what you're getting. But if you jump into the hub, I've connected up one of my test sites to this, and as you can see, this is kind of the hub, and you can go ahead and you can add additional sites to this. And each of your sites will have a range of different features, options, whatever you want to kind of call it. Tiny things like you can use hosting, they've got their own hosting options. You've got your security, your performance, your SEO side of things, backups, which gives you information about the number of, sort of how much space you've got available at your 1 gig and so on. Your uptime monitoring, which is technically free. Your analytics, and then you can go to your reports. You can client build from this, which I'd have to take a look at, and you can just jump straight into your WP admin directly from inside you. But you can see there's a couple of options, and if you go to something like, for example, the security, this will then take you over, and you can see you can scan security, find a little bit more about that particular feature. You can try it for free. A lot of these are going to give you trials, which you'd have to pay for. So this is something that I'm going to take a little look at in a bit more detail, but just out of curiosity, have any of you tried this out yourselves, this WPMUDEV's sort of like, I don't know what to call it, your website management tool? Any thoughts on this? Would you like to see a tutorial on how to use it, get the sort of like an understanding of what it does, what you get in the free plan, what you have to upgrade and pay for? Let me know. No affiliate links to this. This is just literally something that got popped up on the Facebook group that I kind of thought was a little bit interesting and something I'd take a little look at to see if it's something that I think is going to be useful for anybody. Let me know. So that's one of the things I want to have a little talk about tonight. Let's have a little look. What comments do we have coming in already? Now, as I can see, we've got a few people in tonight. If you are new here and you haven't already hit that thumbs up button. Hit that thumbs up button for me because this does help. It tells YouTube that you like this kind of live streaming content, and it helps push this out to more people when there's the replays and let you know there's live streams and things coming up. So that'd be pretty cool. Okay, so has anybody tried this option from WPMUDEV? I'd be interested to sort of find out what you think. Yes, Michael, right, it was you that posted the information about this. So have you tried this, Michael? If you have, what are your thoughts on it? I literally have spent a couple of minutes testing this out to see what it looks like, to see what you kind of get included in. And my kind of first impression is some things are basically free, should we say, whereas some things you're going to have to go ahead and pay for. So, for example, I think if I go back into the hub and go back into an overview, we can get a sort of overview of the site. We can find out the uptime in the last 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, and so on. We can automate the updates, which, let's be honest about it, is WordPress. The last thing you want to do is go ahead and have automatic updates going on. You can schedule your backups and things like that. So from a basic point of view, this could be something that would be useful for, like I say, low usage websites where they're not a primary thing, but they could be useful to have, as part of the overall setup kind of thing. But yeah, let me know. Have you tried it? What are your thoughts on it? Would you be interested in a video on how to use this? Sorry, I'm having a few glitches going on there. Okay, so let me just have a little look at the questions to see what you guys are asking me. So let's have a little look. Q's. When will I do a tutorial on Utheme Pro? I've never heard of Utheme, and I don't really do reviews on themes unless it's something that I've really kind of got into myself and I really like it. For example, GeneratePress, Blocksy, those kinds of things. And even then, I don't really do reviews on themes. It's more a case of showing how to use them. So I don't know if you were behind the Uthemes Pro. If you are, let me know in the comment section. Okay, so what else do we have? Alan. With page builders and gut and turd blocks things, what do you call them? Now providing query loops, will they add filtering or will search and filter or W? I'm not sure what the W is. Will they include sort of searching and filtering? I think that really comes down to the individual plugin that does the blocks plugins and that kind of thing. I don't think I'd want to rely too heavily on that side of things. I think when it comes to something as important as searching and filtering, I think going down a theme level or a block level and expecting them to do the best job, not necessarily the best way of going about it. I think you'd be better off having something like, Search and Filter Pro, or you've got, is it WP Facet, or one of those kinds of tools. I think I would rather rely on one of those that their business is all about building, maintaining, and creating a solid product that works with most ways of outputting the WordPress loop. I don't think I'd want those to sort of have it integral part of it. And the same comes in with page builders, to be honest. Yes, it can be useful. And yes, we all like to have, as many features built into our page builders as possible. But I don't think I'd want to rely on that as being the key thing where my searching and filtering kind of comes from. So, yeah, I think that's my kind of feedback on it. Let's have a little look. Really interested in geolocation-specific content using Elementor Pro and dynamic content for Elementor. Any thoughts? Geolocation is something that's quite difficult because it can be, it can get it wrong because it bases things on IP addresses. So if anybody's using a VPN, it can cause a problem with that, where you could be saying you're coming from one location and you're not. And it depends on how specific you want your geolocation to actually be. Because I know with my ISP, my internet service provider, I'll see sometimes that I'm actually saying that I'm located somewhere in England, which is not where I'm located at all. It's nowhere near where I'm located. So if you're relying upon geolocation for quite specific locations, it can be a little bit hit or miss, and there are various different reasons why it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. And cost-wise, I don't really know how expensive that would kind of be. So geolocation is one of those areas that I'm not particularly strong in, but when I've looked at it and different things that I've done myself, it's not necessarily that accurate, or it can be a little bit less accurate than you'd like it to be. So, yeah, I think I'd sort of be careful doing that side of things. Okay, let's jump back out of this, and let's just take a little look. Filter everything. Pro can't upload more than 50 attributes on one set. Any idea? Gives error 400. Can't load resources. To be honest, with anything, when you're dealing with specific plugins and you're having problems with them, you really need to go to the source, whether that's going to be the Facebook group that's specific to that particular product or company behind it, or going down the technical support route. If you paid for a pro product, then technical support should be part of it. I mean, while I know various different tools and how to use them, I'm not really here to give you sort of technical support on those kinds of things. So as much as I'd like to be able to say this is the problem, the reality is it could be a million and one things, and you need someone that knows exactly what they're talking about down to a technical level with that particular product or tool or service. So hope that helps. I know it's probably not the answer that you would like, but it is one of those things that it is kind of important to go to the right places. Okay, so we've got Yeah, Mark, I'm assuming this is kind of going back to that comment about the geolocation. If you're working on a country level, then I would imagine it's going to be perfectly fine, because unless you're using a VPN and you're pushing that to be in from somewhere completely different, you're in the UK, but you want people to think they're in America, so you can access things like Netflix and you can see the American things, it should work perfectly fine. But I think if you want to get down to a really micro level, like maybe the town that a particular person is in for whatever reason, I think that's where it starts to become a little bit more problematic because of, IP locations, because your IP is generally going to come from your ISP, and then it's going to look at the maybe the nearest exchange or the nearest sort of like exchange that they are using to pipe that content to you. And like I say, I've had several times where it says I'm in a completely different country, as in like I'm in Wales and this is coming from up in England. So you can kind of see that there could be problems with that. So it depends how mission critical that type of technology and that kind of thing is. If it's just the country, then I can imagine it would probably work perfectly fine. In general, anyway. Okay, so the next thing I want to kind of talk about, which I was quite interested in today. So let me just quickly open this up. And this is not going to be about bashing anything, but it is interesting to sort of see. Has anybody seen the birthday sale from Elementor and the massive discount they're giving on the 1000 site license pro plan? And have you been actually tempted to jump on board that particular plan, depending upon where you are at the moment? I mean, luckily enough, I kind of hopped on Elementor right back at the beginning, so I get the 50% reduction and the locked in pricing for the 1000 site license, which is, pretty handy for a lot of use cases. But I was surprised to see a 60% reduction on the 1000 site license today. Has anybody been in the same boat as me thinking, wow, that's a big difference? And when you look at it, there's no discount on the essential plan. There's a 10% discount on the 3 license plan, a 20% discount on the expert plan, and then 60% on the top plan. Now, I can imagine the reasoning behind this is because the renewal discount is no longer something you get. And when you go from that agency plan at $399 this year, if you renew it, you'll renew it unless they bring out another discount plan next year. You'll renew that at the $999 US. So what are your thoughts on this? I mean, have you seen this yourself? What do you think is going on there? Would this tempt you to jump on board that particular plan? Yeah, Michael, I'm exactly the same as you. I'm still on that $199 for. Actually, no, I'm on $99 for a 1000 site license. And yes, this discount is only for the first year. You have to pay for, well, whatever the renewal cost would be next year, which I can't imagine they would be doing another 60% discount. Yeah, I'm curious. Like I say, it's one of those things that I know a lot of people might jump on board this and then expect this to be the sort of the same renewal next year, and then be quite shocked when they get hit with a $999 renewal price. Anyway, Sebastian, I don't understand why they don't do a lifetime. Elementor, I don't think will ever do a lifetime. I think there's too much money being made at the pricing plan that it is at the moment, and I think it's just they're too big a company now with too many people for support staff and developers and all the different departments that are involved, even with the venture capital that they had injected into them several years ago. I can imagine their burn rate, the amount of money that they costed to do all the marketing and advertising and everything else they're doing, comes with quite a high ticket price. So again, one of the reasons why I'm quite surprised that they did this at $399, but I don't ever imagine Elementor doing a lifetime deal. I really just don't see it. Yeah, I just don't see that being the case. Okay, now for some reason my comments just do not want to seem to disappear off the screen. So, Rich, I'm on £120 per year for 1,000, which is originally unlimited sites. Yeah, we won't go into the things there. Do I think they're going to introduce the Elementor Cloud into these plans? No, I don't think so. I think Elementor Cloud is more than likely the direction that I think Elementor are going to go in moving forward, because I think that's potentially where the money would be, where you have an all-in-one platform. Because from a price point of view, it is quite attractive. You think $99, or I think at the moment they're even running a discount on that. The cloud website is coming in at $69 for the first year. I think at that kind of price, where you're talking about a single license, which is $50, and then you're getting hosting for another $50, is an attractive price when you compare it to some of the other things that are out there. And with the marketing capital and the marketing push that they have going on, I can see there's a lot of people are going to be aware of the brand of Elementor in the same way that, Wix were pumping huge amounts of money in, Webflow pump huge amounts of money into their marketing. So these are names that they are becoming synonymous with easy web design. So I think from a proposition point of view, at $99 per year, and what you're saying you get with it, with the SSL certificate, 100 gigabytes of bandwidth, and all the other things that kind of come with it, it is an attractive proposition for a lot of people, especially those that want what technically is being sold as a simple drag and drop interface to create websites that are easy to work with and all those kinds of things. So no, I don't see it. I think if anything, they'll start to offer tiered cloud platforms, and that will be the direction they will push in the future. I wouldn't say for the next couple of years, but I think that's the direction they're going to go in. I think it is. That's the way it's going to go. Okay, so that is what we're talking about with the 60% discount. Like I say, if you've got any feedback on this, let me know in the comment section below, because it's always interesting to find out what your comments are. Catherine W, first time live watcher. Hey all, thank you very much for joining in, Catherine. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic today, and thank you very much for joining in on the live stream. It's great to see you here, and hopefully this won't be the last time you join us. So thank you very much for joining in. Okay, so anybody else? Like I said, I'm going to say it one more time. If you haven't already hit that thumbs up button, hit that thumbs up button to let know that you enjoy this kind of content. If you don't enjoy it, well, hit the thumbs down button twice, because, well, that works perfectly well too. I think maybe this dipper is stronger than I thought. I can't seem to string a sentence together today. Okay, let's have a little look. Bo, I always say that, right? Bo, I agree with you, but I do think they need to do more in the Elementor cloud product themselves. It's not exactly user-friendly for new users. Thanks for your answer. No problem at all. Yeah, I think there's still a lot of ground to be made up, I think, with the cloud platform. It's okay. It covers the basics. I think they're probably testing the waters right now to see what the uptake is going to be on it, and if there's enough uptake and enough interest in it that they'll expand that out. Because at the moment, with just one plan, it's only really geared towards sort of like smaller sites, smaller business sites, maybe hobby sites or blogs and things, not necessarily for something that requires, high traffic where you can control and maintain things. You don't really have much control over the nuts and bolts of it, which, ultimately that's kind of what they're looking for. They're looking more for the people that don't want to have to deal with the technical aspect of hosting and, SSL certificates and all those kinds of things that they might not even have a clue how to use. They just want something that's an all-in-one platform that does all that for you, and, you just literally concentrate on building a site that's quick and easy to build, and then just putting content and everything on there. So I think that's the market they're currently going after. They may well expand into a broader market where you've got more professionals or semi-professionals that are working with clients that want to have maybe a centralized location to handle multiple sites, as opposed to every site being a kind of independent site in its own right. I don't know. I think it would make sense if they went that way, if there's enough of an uptake in the cloud platform itself. But if there's not, well, they're kind of not, they're not putting too much risk involved in it by going down the sort of just testing the waters to see how much of an uptake there is with it. But that's my thoughts on it. You let me know in the comment section or in the chat what your thoughts are when it comes to the cloud platform with Elementor. Be interesting to find out what you guys think. And have any of you tried it out? Have you ever gone and sort of thought, well, for $99 or $69 as it is now, it's worth trying things out, give it a try, see what it's like. Let me know. Let me know in the chat section if you've actually tested it out yourself, and if it's something you would use to work with clients, you would use for yourself. Would you recommend it? Do you think it's just not enough going on there? It's a little bit too simplistic for professional use? I'd love to know. Let me have your feedback. Okay, let's have a little look what else we have involved. Okay, Pete, any WP6 or WordPress 6 disasters, all clear on 60 plus sites, my end, staged, updated, tested, and zero issues. I've only updated a couple of sites myself manually, and so far, touch wood, I haven't actually seen any real problems with it. But again, I suppose it all kind of comes down to what you're using. I think I know that Bricks rolled out the 1.4 update, which we'll talk about in a moment, at the same time, pretty much exactly the same day as WordPress 6 was rolled out. So I don't know, I haven't seen anything whether there's been any issues there, but let's fingers crossed that they don't end up suffering the same fate that Elementor did when they rolled out version 3 and there was a major update to WordPress at the same time, and it didn't go so well for them. So fingers crossed, that the Bricks guys have learnt from what Elementor did and how it was handled and the problems they had with it. Be interesting to find out. Okay, so to go on to Cloud. Michael, for Elementor Cloud, given it's $49 for a single site license and essentially just $20 on top for hosting with a current discount. Yeah, I mean, it is tempting for some people. Like I say, it is one of those things that this is a simple setup. It is really all about making it as simple as possible for the end user, not have to worry about various different things, restricting or limiting the types of plugins that you can and can't install, which I don't think is a bad thing, if I'm honest. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole point of doing it that way is to limit the potential problems that they're going to have with incompatibilities with Elementor and the plugin, or maybe the cloud platform they're using and Elementor and or plugin or plugins that are known to cause issues. So yeah, I think from a price point of view, it is attractive for a lot of people. Whether you look at the $69 right now or the $99, it is an attractive price point. Whether it will stay like that, given a track record, I think probably not. I think this is just to introduce people into it, to find out, test those waters, see if there's enough interest and uptake on the cloud platform. If it is, and it takes off, then I think there'll be additional tiers brought in, and I think prices will creep up in the same way that they historically have done with the WordPress plugin. But we'll have to wait and see. But to go back to the comment about WordPress 6, if anybody has had any problems with WordPress 6 with the updates, just put hashtag WP6 and we can see if anybody else has had any problems. Okay, so let's have a little look. Max. Yeah, on one page I got WordPress 6 and Bricks 1.4 in the update pipeline. I'll need to rewrite some classes that I did hand coding. Yeah, one of the things is that there's some core changes to Bricks 1.4 and the way that handles various different parts of, if you want to sort of get in and hand code various different things. So you do need to be careful there. So I would say, make sure you read through the documentation, the changelog and everything that goes with it before you update if you are running Bricks, whether that's on WordPress 6 or not at all. Staging site, usual kind of setup, but a staging site, make sure you can check everything out. Everything's okay before you do it. We go from there. So just be careful out there, folks. It's a dangerous place with WordPress. Rich, for Elementor Cloud to be a viable contender, they need to follow the example of Brizy Cloud. A native version of the tool that has a dedicated roadmap of features development, dynamic content is key. If I'm honest, when it comes to Brizy, I prefer the cloud platform over what you kind of get with the WordPress side of things. Not for any reason other than I like the way that they've handled the cloud platform. They've brought out quite a lot of updates. They've integrated dynamic content into it. They've integrated a commenting system so you can get client feedback, or if you're working as part of a team, you can handle that side of things. There's a lot of things to really like about that's sort of Brizy Cloud, and I think they are definitely in advance of what's being done with Elementor, but they also have a couple of years on them, developing and expanding the cloud platform. I think when it comes to any kind of cloud platform, which is not so easy to say, and your page builder and everything else, so everything is kind of contained inside that one setup, you sacrifice any kind of real level of control. And I think for me personally, I don't really want to go that way. For things like landing pages or sort of simple brochure sites, a couple of pages, I'd have no problem with that because to recreate them is relatively simple and straightforward. But I think to create something more complex and something a bit more sort of core to running your business, I would be a little bit reticent about having everything inside the one platform and still being built on WordPress like it is with the Elementor Cloud website. Whereas like with Brizy, that's not built on WordPress, so that gives you one less fail point, as it were, for an ecosystem. So I was quite surprised to see that Elementor went down the route of using WordPress as part of their cloud platform. I thought they would have created something a little bit more, sort of bespoke that would just allow you to run Elementor in its own dedicated environment. Maybe that's something that's on the cards for later on down the line, but I am quite surprised that it's still built on top of WordPress. That adds that extra fail point on top of the infrastructure, and I think Brizy Cloud doesn't have that problem. So, interesting. Good comment though, Rich. Right, let's have a little look. Good to see no problems with your WordPress 6 updates. Always awesome to hear. What happened to Brizy? It looks like they left behind. I think the problem when it comes down to Brizy, and that we take the cloud platform out of it, because I think the cloud platform is something that's different in its own right. I think when it comes down to the WordPress plugin, I think the problem, and I've said this several times in the past, is in the opposite to what you have with Elementor, which is kind of rolling out updates and new features and stuff all the time. I think when it comes to Brizy, it's been too long in between core updates. I mean, I know they released a big update today that had a lot of new features in the free version and the pro version of the plugin, which I haven't really taken too much of a look at just yet, but there's quite a lot of things I quickly skimmed through, and there's a lot of new updates in there. But I think that's been the problem, is that their development has been just a little too slow for people. So while features have been talked about and promised and things, people are, users, we're all the same. We want, once it's announced kind of thing, we want it tomorrow. And I think if it takes longer than that, we kind of start to get a little bit fed up, and we look at it and think, is anything going on? Is this company or product failing? And those kinds of things. So maybe what they need to do is take a leaf out of Elementor's book, not the whole leaf, just half of it, and maybe speed up the release cycle. Smaller updates more frequently than waiting to release big, massive updates, every sort of like 5 or 6 months. I think that's, people will lose faith and lose interest in products because we have so many things we can choose from. When you look at page builders, I mean, when you stop and think, you've got Beaver Builder, you've got Divi, you've got Elementor, you've got Brizy, you've got Zion, you've got Bricks Builder, you've got Visual Composer, you've got WP Bakery, Thrive Architect. Those are just the ones that kind of run off the top of my head. So it's not like we don't have a lot of choice out there. Whether you like some of them or not is up for debate. But the reality is there's lots of choice out there. And with the marketing push that the likes of Elementor have behind them, that's very difficult to compete with for brand recognition and brand awareness. So in much the same way as now in the English language, we no longer say you're going to edit a photograph, you'll just say, I'll Photoshop it. It's become synonymous with video, with sort of like photo editing. I think Elementor is kind of on the way to being synonymous with page builders and WordPress because of that heavy marketing push that they've got and the amount of money they've really put into that side of things and the various different marketing campaigns they've got to kind of attract different kinds of sort of potential users. That's difficult, and I don't think Brizy have anywhere near that marketing budget to be able to do anything close to it. I don't think any of the page builders do. I think that capital investment that they had several years ago has definitely been put to good use when it's come down to marketing and promoting that as a product. It's massive. You only got to go onto, if I go into YouTube, pretty much 5 out of 10 adverts that come on at the beginning of most videos, including my own, is Elementor. They're really, really pushing it through that side of things. And I think that's just the way it's going to go. So they've become synonymous with building WordPress websites in a visual, easy fashion. Just my take on it. Again, like I said, what are your thoughts on this? Matt, does Bricks allow white labeling for client sites? That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure, if I'm honest. I don't think it does, but I could be wrong. If anybody knows this for sure, let me know in the comment section. Come back and answer Matt's question if Bricks allows for white labeling clients' websites. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't actually done any client websites with it and looked into it. I don't tend to look into white labeling too much because for my business, I've always kind of been upfront about the tools that I use because people are going to use them anyway. If I build a website, it's using Elementor. Then there's tutorials on how to use Elementor, and I don't see the point. I don't see the need in removing that. I don't think it really does anything. But I'm not 100% sure. So if anybody knows the answer to that, if you can white label inside Bricks for your clients, just pop in the comments, the chat section, and just let Matt know whether it is or isn't a thing. Okay. Stardust, you're not too far wrong there. They've always been slow at updates. Now they have cloud, they're half that speed. Yeah, you're probably right, because I think they are kind of trying to run a lot of the updates in parallel with each other. So when you release updates to the WordPress plugin, they also want to release similar or the majority of those same updates to the cloud platform. And because one's using WordPress, one isn't using WordPress, I can imagine there's a lot of inherent issues in the development cycle where you can tap into one way of doing it inside of the cloud platform where everything is proprietary, as opposed to using it inside the WordPress platform where everything is based around WordPress and that ecosystem. So yeah, good answer to that, to be honest. You're probably spot on with that, to be honest. Let's have a little look. Brizzy has a big update at webinar scheduled for tomorrow, I think. Yeah, I think Dimmy is doing a webinar. You might well be right about tomorrow. It's worth looking at, though. Like I say, I think a lot of people sort of like don't look at Brizzy because you kind of consider it to be inferior in so many different ways. But there's a lot of things to really like about Brizzy and what it does. I like the interface. It has its shortcomings. I don't like the fact that I've got to click the same button 3 times to adjust my alignment between left, center, right, and then justify. You know, I find that side of things is a little bit counterintuitive. But then on the flip side of it, there's a lot of things that are incredibly quick and easy to do using the simplified interface that you have with Brizzy. And there's a lot more power underneath the hood than you may give it credit for, first of all. So I think it's a good product. I think it's hampered by its lack of speed bringing updates out. I think it may be hampered, like Richard said, with the fact that they're running the sort of 2 products in parallel with each other. But Brizzy still has a lot of things to like about it. I still like it. When I've used it to create landing pages on the cloud platform, once you kind of get past that initial sort of learning curve, which isn't particularly difficult, you know, once you're used to any kind of page build, it's very quick and easy, and I find it a relatively intuitive interface. Some things, like I say, are hidden away, and some things take more clicks than they should do. But on the whole, it's a pretty decent product. Just needs a little bit more love and maybe a faster development cycle, releasing smaller updates but more frequently. Okay, so that leads me on to the Bricks update. Now, I released a video today on a Bricks update, and there's no way in hell I can kind of go through all the things. But if you haven't seen it and you are interested in Bricks, or you just use tools like Oxygen, there's another one I forgot about. Use tools like Oxygen or, Brizzy or Divi or, Elementor, any of those kinds of tools. Have a little look at it, because what they're doing is solid. I've said for a long time, I really do like the way Bricks is being developed. And if you kind of take a look at the changelog, which I'll just pull up on screen a second, there's a lot going on under the hood. Let's just take away the things like, the new features that have been added into it. The fact we can now do a lot with, we've got 2 out of the 3 releases when it comes to working with Woocommerce have been released. We just need to wait now for the account control options. There's a lot going on with the HTML output and those kinds of things. I mean, first of all, they've completely rewritten the builder. So they've moved away from their reliance on Sortable.js, which obviously is an external library in the same way as we've got jQuery and those kinds of things. So they've moved away from that. They've actually designed, developed, and integrated their own system for their drag and drop options inside the interface. And like I said in my video today, it honestly feels like you're using a desktop application as opposed to something that's inside your browser. It's very quick, very snappy, and I think that update has made it even smoother to work with. There's a lot of visual updates that have been included in this to make the interface even nicer to work with, and it was already relatively nice to work with. They've also gone ahead and they've optimized their HTML output by reducing the amount of divs that are being used, so you're no longer having every sort of widget, everything you put into your design being wrapped in its own separate div container. That's been stripped out now completely, which means you do have to go back and maybe look at some of the hand coding you may have done for CSS and that, because the selectors are going to be slightly different. But that's going to cut down. If you've got a site that's got 1,000 widgets on it, then you're talking at least 2,000 lines of code that are being stripped out, which obviously is going to be a good thing. They've also gone ahead and they've streamlined the whole ID and class names. So instead of it being Bricks Element, you're now BRXE. So all these characters reduce the amount of code that's being generated simply by creating your page layout. So that's good to see. So that's optimizing the DOM side of things. Like I've already said, you've got the WooCommerce cart and checkout builders that have been built in, which again, far outweighs what you can do with the really poor excuse that Elementor brought out with their cart and checkout and their account features, which was basically bloody laughable. One of the things I really like about this is the auto-sync global data between tabs. If you are like me, and like probably most people, you'll have multiple tabs open on maybe different pages on a site you're working with the Bricks editor open on each one of those. And then when you make a change to, for example, your global style or one of the pseudo classes or something like that, when you go to another tab that you haven't changed it in, you've got to save that page, reload that page to see those changes take effect. With this auto-sync global data between tabs, you don't need to do any of that. You can literally switch tabs and any changes you made in the one tab are automatically reflected in all of the other tabs with no refresh, with no save, nothing. Things like that are just so useful. The only save actual changes. If you're working as part of a team, for example, and you've got multiple people working on a page, and then one person saves that page and then someone else is working on the same page and they save it, well, one lot of changes can overwrite the other changes. Well, with the only save actual changes option, that will look at what's been changed and only save those to the database, and all the other things that someone else might be working on won't be affected. So that means that if you're working as part of a design team, which lots of people are or will be, using tools like Bricks maybe in the future when it becomes hopefully more mainstream, all these little things add up to a massive change for a tool that you may be using in a collaborative environment. Really, really like it. You've also got more dynamic data. They're supporting Jet Engine now, so not just toolset, Metabox, ACF, and pods. I might have missed anything out in there. It's now supporting Jet Engine. And from my understanding, when 1.41 comes out, they'll also be added in even more features from both Jet Engine and ACF and Metabox. So things like the repeater and groups, the Jet Engine repeater, ACF relationships can be used inside the Bricks query loop. So where we've been asking for, Elementor to include a lot of these tools, that's going to be built in straight out of the box in the next release, which means that you don't need to rely upon third-party tools to do some of the more advanced heavy lifting for things like relationships, repeater regions, and those kinds of things. It'll all be built into Bricks Builder 1.41, I believe. Don't quote me 100% on that. You can also go ahead and run PHP functions. So if you want to target specific dynamic data and use PHP functions to handle that, you can do that inside there as well. jQuery has been stripped out of Bricks Builder's front end completely. So if you don't use any plugins or themes that require jQuery and you only use Bricks Builder, you have no jQuery library used at all, which means that it removes the reliance upon that. There's a lot of really good things going on inside here. And like I say, there's over 300 new features, fixes, updates. As you can see, there's one hell of a long list. Now, if this is the last time they're going to be releasing sort of something this big, they've said themselves that this was a massive undertaking and it's been too long between releases, going back to the things we talked about with Brizzy. So it's interesting to see that they're not going to go down that route the next time. But 300 fixes, improvements, and new features, and a lot of these are big, big features. Tie that into the loop builder that we had in the last release, and Bricks Builder is getting very close to being a serious contender. Bring in the conditional logic, which is supposed to be coming very, very soon, hopefully. The last of the options when it comes to working with WooCommerce, and it is going to be supporting CSS Grid, not just Flexbox, so that opens up even more options when it comes to design and layout. Bricks is the one to watch, and I'm hopeful that it will really take off once these final things come out and more people are going, right, now it's a serious contender to do more advanced sites. Yes, there's still going to be things that are missing, but let's be honest about it, no page builder is perfect. Everyone's got its limitations, it's got its quirks, it's got its problems. But when you consider how new Bricks is, I mean, it's literally just gone past its first birthday. And the amount of features that are in this right now, that's exciting. That really is. And consider the number of people involved in a project like this in comparison to the likes of the amount of people that are involved in a project like Elementor. it's surprising to see how far they've gone with, that shorter lifespan on it. Absolutely exciting to see where this is going. Okay, so come back to me with your bricks comments. If you do hashtag bricks in the chat below, then I can take a look at that and we can sort of see what bricks comments and questions you've got on there. But what are your thoughts on this? Are you a Bricks lifetime owner? Have you looked into this? Are you kind of waiting to see if certain features come out of this? Or are you just not interested whatsoever? I'd love to know your feedback. Just do hashtag bricks so I can see, and be cool to see where you're going. And as you can see, we've got a few more people in now already. So if you are enjoying the live stream, the content, getting involved, having a chat and so on, hit that thumbs up button. You know it works. Okay, so I'm going to answer Pete. Have you given the new, last major version of Zayan a go? I picked up a lifetime license a while ago, tried the previous version and never went back. Apparently it's a lot better now. I'm much the same as you on that front. I got contacted by Zayan ages ago, a couple of years back, and they sent me a license so I could test it out. And I tried it and I thought it was a pretty poor combination of Visual Composer and Divi. The interface was very akin to the sort of both of those being wrapped up together. I didn't really like it. I found it buggy and quirky, and it really wasn't something I liked. Now I know that the new version that they've released apparently is a lot better, but in all honesty, I didn't grab the lifetime license when that was on AppSumo because I didn't really think I'd ever go back to using it. And I don't really see myself rushing back out to take a look at it. I mean, if the developers see this and they want to get in touch with me and ask me to, and send me a license over so I can take another look at it, by all means do so. I'd be happy to take a look. But I don't see me going out and buying it because I don't think there's enough of a market share there for it. I know people that use it like it, but it's one of those ones that you just don't really hear a lot about. And I kind of think that goes to show the amount of users that are out there and the amount of interest that's in it. And unless they bring something out that is, a massive improvement over the previous iterations, or bring something to the table that is groundbreaking, whether that's from a feature point of view or a usability point of view, I think they're going to have a hard time drumming up enough interest to compete with the likes of those names that are out there. I mean, when you consider, going back to Bricks as an example, when you kind of consider the amount of buzz that's come around Bricks and is continuing to surround Bricks, and the same kind of goes with Oxygen. There's a lot of, we say, rabid loyal fans when it comes to these different page builders and these different tools that they're using to build WordPress websites. And I think Zayan doesn't have that. So if they want to become a contender, they need to find some way to differentiate themselves from the market and create some kind of buzz around themselves. Otherwise, they're just going to be one of those ones that they'll just be that little tombstone in the background that no one really pays any attention to. So no, I haven't gone back to it. I don't see me going back to it unless something drastically changes. So yeah, I was never really a big fan when I tested it out before. Thomas, welcome from the northern New York State, and welcome to you, Thomas. Thank you very much for joining in tonight. It's great to see you here, and I hope you're enjoying the chat. By all means, ask your questions, give us your comments, get involved in the chat, get involved with the conversation. And that goes for everybody. If you've got a question, put hashtag Q, and I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. And if it's about bricks, just put hashtag bricks, and I can take a little look from there. Okay, so let's just remove that a second. Let's have a little look what comments you guys are coming back with. It doesn't white label. Thanks, Yanis. It's good to know that it's not something I'd missed out in there. And we're talking about Bricks Builder, whether that's white labelable or not. So thank you very much for answering that. And the same goes to you, Stardust. Thanks very much for letting me know and clarifying that. I didn't think it was there, but I look at so many different tools, and some have white labeling and some don't have white labeling. It's kind of hard to keep track. But I'm personally one of those things that, unless it's one of those things that's really massively intrusive, I'm just generally open with clients, and I always have been open with clients about the tools that I use. If they say, is it WordPress you're using? You say, yep, it's WordPress I'm using. So you can go ahead and you can white label the entire thing and change the look and feel of it. But I don't see the real need for it, to be honest. I think unless you are dealing with maybe massive companies that don't want to know any of that, I don't really see this much benefit. Sometimes people actually get a sense of comfort from the fact that they know that you're using a tool like WordPress, which is so prevalent on the internet. It's one of those buzzwords that they've heard of. So yeah, let's have a look. Max, Brizy is simple, but at the cost of being very opinionated. Many things are tied down to do things the Brizy way at the cost of access and compatibility. For quick shots, I like it. Yeah, you could well be right. Like I say, I think the interface generally has, to keep that simplicity, there's got to be compromises. The things like I said about the alignment, having to do 3 or 4 clicks to get the alignment where you want it. I would much rather see, the ability to click and hold, for example, on that alignment. You get a little sort of drop down, like you do with the Elementor builder. When you look at the responsive icon in the interface on the left-hand side, you can click and it'll show you all the different responsive options you have in there. I'd like to see something like that to take what is a relatively simple and nicely designed interface, but take some of those little quirks that are there that make it a little bit awkward to work with sometimes. So yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that front. I think you probably absolutely hit the nail on the head. Okay. I bought Brizy a while ago, but refunded and went for bricks, and it's so much better. At the end of the day, I think everything is subjective, and some tools resonate with us, others don't. I think when it comes to bricks, it's definitely got a buzz about it. And whether that's down to people that, I can't say that. I don't think that's really down to influencers, because other than when it originally came out, and there are a couple of videos brought out about, is this the Elementor beta and stuff like that, which I'm guilty of myself. I think most of those influencers kind of left it behind and went back to Divi and Elementor and stuff like that. So for me, I'd like to think I've championed bricks, because I do think it's an exciting product. I think the team behind it, I think Thomas has got the right way of developing it. I liked like Happy Files, which was the first software that I bought from Thomas. And I like the way that was developed. I like the ethos behind it, that they don't look at just continuing with the same old. If something isn't working or there's a way of making it better, they make it better. I mean, a good example of that, like I said, is, let me just scroll back up, when we're talking about where they've completely rewritten the builder, because they didn't want a reliance upon sortable JS. They wanted to have something integrated into their own setup that meant that they could control all that side of things. They've got full control inside the builder itself. I like that ethos. I think that's the right way to go about it, because they're looking at how do we make the product the best it can be, and how do we look at what is working and tweak it to make it better, and look at what could be improved and tweak it to make it better. So yeah, I'm kind of, like I say, I'm very much of the mindset that I really want bricks to succeed. I really want that buzz to build up in the same way that it has for tools like Oxygen. I don't see them getting the same kind of financial input as Elementor did with the VC. But then again, I don't think they're going after that market. I don't think, I could be wrong here, but I don't feel like that their aim is to become the page builder of choice and have 15 million people, running their software. I think they're more happy to be that niche product that does a bloody good job and has a good, solid user base that's passionate about it, that wanted to succeed, and they're involved in the whole community side of things. That's what I think, anyway. And again, heck, I could be totally talking out of my behind, but that's what I think. Mark, is bricks better than Elementor Pro? I don't think you can say better. I think this is the difficult thing, is that we all look to see, right, okay, that product is the number one product, or that's the most well-known product. Is product X better than that? Bricks is different. Bricks is far in advance in certain aspects as a builder, and Elementor's playing catch-up to that side of things. But the thing that I think Elementor has is it's got a long track record. It's been around for quite a long time. It had and still has a relatively solid, well-featured free version, which Bricks obviously doesn't have. You pay for Bricks. Yes, you've got a money-back guarantee on it, but you have to pay for Bricks. And the only way you can kind of test it out is on a sandbox environment for, like, I think 7 days, something like that. Much the same as Oxygen does. So I think that's a barrier of entry for a lot of people that are looking for a quick and easy way of getting into it. But Elementor is further down the line. It's got a much bigger development team behind it. It's got much more money behind it. So I can't say it's better. I think they have strengths and weaknesses in different areas. What Elementor has and has had for quite some time is a massive third-party system around it, which props it up in the same way that we're finding with Gutenberg. I mean, Gutenberg itself, if you look at that as a tool, it's generally pretty crap. But what's making it more eagerly adopted these days is the likes of Cadence, the likes of Stackable, the likes of Generate Blocks, the likes of Quickly. Quickly is one of those tools that if you want something that's far in advance of a lot of the other block tools out there, Quickly is probably one of the ways to go about it. But they're the tools that are making Gutenberg actually usable. And I think that's kind of happening in a very similar way when it comes to Elementor. There are lots of areas that are missing inside Elementor. So you've got tools like Crocoblock, you've got tools like dynamic content for Elementor, and you've got smaller tools that are sort of bridging the gap in various different areas that are propping up those areas that are being left behind and not getting the development that they really should do for us. And, you know, so I don't think one is better than the other. I think they're different. I think they have their strengths and their weaknesses. I would still currently probably use Elementor if I'm going to use a page builder for lots of projects because of that whole ecosystem around it. That just means that if Elementor doesn't do something, I can find a tool that probably will do it. Whereas currently Bricks doesn't have that. But if Bricks starts to get a third-party ecosystem built around it and it keeps developing the core things that you need to build more advanced websites, it's going to become a serious contender. That's my thoughts on it anyway. But again, let me know your thoughts in the chat. I always love to know what you guys think. Okay. Sorry. Right. Let me just have a little look. Just go back. Mark, I don't understand how Bricks has already implemented a WooCommerce builder and Elementor hasn't. Probably because they're listening to what people like you and I that actually build websites want out of our builder and are not so bothered about giving us the little shiny twiddly bits that most of us don't give a flying chuff about. Things like Lottie animations, page transitions, those kinds of things. So this is where I kind of think that difference between the core methodology behind it, the ethos behind these tools. I think Thomas and the team behind Bricks are trying to make the best WordPress page builder stroke theme that they can, that answers and caters for the core things that most people that build websites for clients or from a professional point of view can do it all inside the one tool. Whereas Elementor, I think they're trying to cater for the broader market, you know, where you've got the hobbyist, you've got the person that doesn't necessarily, you know, they want to grab market share from the likes of Wix and Squarespace, those kinds of things, which is part of the reason why I think we've got the cloud platform. You know, so I think they're both after very different markets. I know that, you know, you can look at the different pricing plans and so on Elementor and think, well, surely they're after the different sort of more professional kinds of things. But I don't think they really are. I think that's why they whacked the price up so high on the agency plan, is to not necessarily to get more people on board, but to kind of deter companies from shelling out that $1,000 on the product, and more to do with the lower price plans and the cloud platform where they can have people that are hobbyists or new to it, which is a different market, should we say. That's kind of my thoughts anyway. But as always, like I say, I would love to know your thoughts on this. Max, Bricks is amazing. I did one project and see myself coming back to it. Always good to hear that, you know, you are actually out there, you're putting websites together, you're putting them out there into the wild, should we say, and you're enjoying the process of doing it. It's always good to know that that is the case, and I'm sure that Thomas and the team behind it would love to know all that side of things as well. Mark, I watched your Bricks video today. I also had a look at your how to use Elementor containers the right way video. I do think there's a lack of useful time saver elements like call to action in Bricks. Yeah, you know, I think this is the difference. I mean, you know, Elementor does have a much longer life in it. It's been around a lot longer in comparison to Bricks, which is literally just over a year. But I think if you kind of look at something like cadence blocks, when we go into the sort of the Gutenberg kind of way, if you look at cadence blocks and you look at generate blocks as two examples, cadence blocks is full of all different kinds of blocks, you know, widgets, those kinds of things. Whereas if you look at generate blocks, it has a core set of 4, and it will have 5 or maybe 6 once 1.5 is released. So when you look at the 2, you think, well, that doesn't have anywhere near as many features as Cadence does, and you would be right. But I think they're after different markets. I mean, if you look at GeneratePress, for example, with generate blocks, I think they're after the people that are more comfortable working with creating more advanced things themselves and not relying upon all of that being done inside their block tools. Whereas Cadence is a little bit more like Elementor, where they're trying to cater for as many use cases, so everything is done inside the builder for you. But then your reliance on that means that, yes, it's more user-friendly for beginners and people that are not that accustomed to more intermediate, maybe advanced ways of working with designs. But then you have less flexibility because you're kind of integrated into that whole system. Whereas a tool like, Bricks, or a tool like sort of Generate Blocks is stripped back a little bit, but it gives you the core things you need to get the job done. If you want the more advanced things, well, then you can look at, maybe learning a bit more about things like that, or maybe doing it yourself kind of thing. I think that's the kind of key difference. One's trying to cater for every eventuality and every type of user, whereas the other is kind of looking more towards the sort of intermediate stroke professional designer, developer kind of person. That's the way I look at it. But great comment. Okay, so let me have a little look what else we have. Question: what is my current stack? It would depend totally on what I'm building. I don't really work with clients that much these days, so I don't really have to worry too much about a stack, as it were. But let's just take a hypothetical situation. If I was going to build a website for a client and it was something that was more complex with dynamic content and, custom loops and those kinds of things, I would probably still be using Elementor at this point in time until Bricks brings out some of the other things that I needed to do, like conditional logic, those kinds of things. Because that stack works, I'm used to it, I know the tools, I can quickly and rapidly build something on that. If I want something that doesn't need quite so much customization, building the template files and all those kinds of things, but maybe still requires things like custom post types, maybe search and filtering, maybe WooCommerce, those kinds of things, I would generally be looking at using Blocksy, the Pro version, because that has integration with dynamic content and has some great features in it, and you can very quickly build up great looking sites that are fast loading and easy to work with. Integrates well with custom post types and meta fields and those kinds of things. However, if I wanted something where I didn't need all those extra features, but I wanted something that created lightweight sites, but still allows me to create, more advanced loops and those kinds of things and customize various different template components, I would seriously be looking at Generate Blocks and GeneratePress, which is not something I would have said 6 months ago. But the more I investigate in that and more I take a look into it, the more I can see how much you can do with it. It really is a powerful set of tools, which at first glance look really simplistic and lacking in comparison to tools like Cadence Blocks and Cadence Pro, those kinds of things. So that's what I would probably look at the moment. I don't think I have one stack that does everything. Yes, while Elementor is getting faster and they're optimizing their code and they're stripping things out, I don't really want to have that need to have to deal with optimizing various things, and then maybe installing extra plugins to deal with offsetting the use of the page builder side of things, where I could use a theme like Blocksy or GeneratePress, and I could use some block level tools with Gutenberg, and I can get sites that already score in the late 80s, early 90s on mobile without adding any third-party tools in, especially if you use something like Perf Matters, which you can really go ahead and optimize and customize all your different pages to do what you needed to do very easily just by using some checkboxes and so on. That's probably where I would go at this point in time. In fact, that is kind of where I go at this point in time. The WPTuts website was completely built on stackable Cadence blocks and Blocksy Pro. So that's all done on that. So yeah, that's what I would do. That is what I do. Hopefully that answers your question anyway, Jeffrey. Okay, so let's have a little look. I'm going to give you a couple more questions and we're going to call it a night if you don't mind. Go around. Bricks, waiting for 1.5 to transfer my projects to Bricks. I think 1.5 is going to bring out some of the key final touches that you need. Hopefully 1.5 will have the option for CSS grid, for conditional logic, and it'll have the final part of WooCommerce. So I do agree with you. I think a lot of people are probably going to be waiting for 1.5 because I think that's going to be, for a lot of use cases, a lot of scenarios, that's going to be the final bit of icing on the cake to make it something that people are going to kind of jump over to and take it a bit more seriously. I think a lot of people have bought into the lifetime deal to sit on this for a little while until it gets to the point where all the things they need are integrated into it, and then they can start using it and potentially, start using it with clients and those kinds of things. Okay. What else do we have? Let me just take that comment off there. Let me just scroll down right down to the bottom because we've got a lot of comments and things that I've missed out. Okay. David Mitchell, good to see you in. Thank you very much for joining in. Unfortunately, we're coming to an end relatively soon, but thank you very much for joining in anyway. Awesome to see you around you. Okay. Hey, Paul, we need to talk more about quickly. The Webflow for Gutenberg is just amazing. It needs more exposure as it's not geared to beginners, but man, what it can do. Yeah, I couldn't disagree. Couldn't agree with you more. David McCann's done a couple of great videos getting you started with quickly. I think he's done 2 videos at the moment. Check out David McCann's website, which is WebTNG, and he's also got the YouTube channel, which I think is also WebTNG. Check out his channel because, like I say, he's just released 2 videos on quickly, and he's doing some great work, he's doing some great content. And also check out his Facebook group, which is Dynamic WordPress. Have a look on there. It's a great little community going on with lots of knowledgeable people, and it's some great conversations. He's really on the board with what's going on out there in WordPress. So check that out. Okay, so that's what I would suggest. Right, Bricks. Yanis, the best thing about people around Bricks is that they listen to their users and community, what they need, what they ask, what bugs they find, and what features they need the most. Couldn't disagree with you. That's exactly one of the reasons why I like Bricks and I like the Bricks community. It's a respectful community. It's passionate people that want Bricks to succeed. You're always going to get some people that it's not happening fast enough for them and they get a little bit fed up, which, is understandable. But yeah, the community is great. And like I say, the Bricks people are definitely listening to what needs to be done, where people are finding problems, and then dealing with them. That's why I think you probably find that 1.4 has come up with over 300 updates, fixes, those kinds of things. Okay. Element. Yeah, you're probably right there. Elementor listens to the crowd. They just choose to ignore them. Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Jamie Sheehan. Missed your WPMUDEV chat. Quick recap. Now, Jamie, if I'm mistaken, are you not involved with WPMUDEV? I'm pretty sure you are. I think we've chatted before. I'm not going to recap on it. I think I'm going to be probably doing a video on it to sort of like cover what is included in the free version. But Jamie, if you are the one that I spoke to before, which I'm pretty sure you are, you've got my email. Drop me a message and we'll have a chat about things. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 more questions. I'll have a little look for 2 more questions. And once we've done that, we're going to call it a night because I'm conscious of the fact it's 9:15 and I try to keep these now to an hour if possible. So let me have a little look what other comments and questions we've got. And I'll do my best to answer some of those. Let me just do a little search for questions. While I'm searching for those, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button just to make sure that YouTube knows that you're enjoying this. Okay, I think I've answered all those, which is good. I'm really on the ball. Okay, I've gone right way back to the top of the comments. So if you've got any comments or any AMAs you want to ask me, ask away because we're going to be calling it a day relatively soon. Missed the start by a lot. We'll be watching the replay. Not a problem, David. I hope you enjoyed the replay. And thank you very much for all the great comments you've been leaving on the recent videos. It means a lot. Joy. Out of topic, anyone have a real direct update of our friends at Crockerblock, how they're doing and are they safe? I've only got a couple of people that I've actually sort of talked to. Lana, for example. I think a lot of the key ones, they are either out of Ukraine at the moment or they are, I don't want to say in hiding, but they're as safe as they can be right now with what's going on. So, yeah, all love and respect go to all the guys out there because it's got to be incredibly difficult. I think they're doing an incredible job of keeping the community going of keeping updates coming out and keeping people up to speed with what's going on. So kudos to them, because they are doing an amazing job in incredibly tough times right now. So that's about all I know at the moment, I'm afraid. I wish I knew something more, but yeah, nice of you to ask, Joy. Rich, do you have some Quickly Tuts planned soon? I don't have any planned soon. I do need to go and take a little look. But it's, as with anything, like I say, the learning curve on Quickly is a little steeper. And I don't really want to just cover the basics of how to build a simple website. I need to really dig in and get stuck in to see how their dynamic content works, because I know they've got support for like repeater regions and those kinds of things. So at some point I will. I've just got plenty of other things I really need to be doing right now. But if enough people ask for the Quickly tutorials, I'd take a look. But for now, I would highly recommend going to take a look at David McCann's videos. Like I say, WebTNG up on YouTube. Let me just actually see if I can find that for you a second so you can take a little look. So a little look. YouTube. That's WebTNG. Let's have a look. David McCann. There we go. If you do a little search for David McCann, you can see he's released 2 Quickly videos 2 weeks ago. Have a little look at those. There should be some good information inside there. Like I say, David does a really good job of covering those various different things. So have a little look on his channel. Didn't even actually show you. Yeah, there we go. So WebTNG, have a little look on there. And take a look at his videos. Like I say, he's covered the basics of those, getting started with it, an overview, how to get started with the templates. And I understand he's going to be doing more of these. So definitely work keeping up to speed what's going on there. As I said with Stratus, make sure you go over, show some love, hit that subscribe button so you can be kept up to date with all the content that those guys are releasing, because they're doing an amazingly good job of putting content out there, covering topics that, you know, really need to be covered, topics that are not necessarily your mainstream topics, which is always a good thing. So give them some love, get over onto that YouTube and follow them. Okay. Wiki Designs, they're doing great. Going back to Crockablock, we're making videos for them and they are safe, which is always good to hear. And great to see Wiki Designs. You guys are doing some great work for Crockablock and some great work on your own channel. So congratulations, which is another channel you should go and check out. If you haven't taken a look at Wiki Designs, go onto YouTube, do a search for Wiki Designs, hit that subscribe button. You know you want to. The more we can learn about WordPress, the more you can support content creators, the better. We all need that support network, and that comes in the shape of people liking the videos, watching the videos, sharing the videos, and subscribing to our channel. So get over and hit up WebTNG, Wiki Design, and Stratos tutorials. That's my suggestion for the day. Okay, right, one more, and we're going to call it a day. Let's have a little look. What else do we have? Quickly's pricing is completely out of touch with reality. Quickly's pricing is a little bit strange, it has to be said. Can't disagree with you there. Okay. One more question and we're done. Let's have a little look. Let me just quickly run through. Robert, who would you recommend to help make some tutorial videos for my plugin? Only need a few short videos for the basics. I would suggest hitting up Wiki Designs, and I would also suggest hitting up Stratus Tutorials. Get in touch with those guys. They can do some great work for you. Get a conversation going. I think one of the nice things that I know I've come across in my time of doing this is when you kind of get to talk to developers, people that are actually, you know, sort of creating tutorials, creating plugins, creating themes, creating those kinds of things. When you work with anybody that creates content, one of the big things is a two-way conversation. And I know where I've sort of talked to various different developers and things like that and struck up a conversation, it's been great to sort of give suggestions and feedback, not necessarily just my feedback, but when I create content, obviously feedback comes on there, and pass that on to the developers, because it's invaluable to kind of give feedback to the developers, the people that are actually creating these plugins and tools, so people can really understand how to improve their product, how to get out there to more people, how to create the best version of their product that they can. So get in touch with people like Wiki Designs, get in touch with people like Stratos, get in touch with these guys, create a two-way conversation, get them making some content for you, take the feedback on board. It's awesome stuff. It's a really good way, and I've sort of got some really good friends in the industry based upon creating maybe a free tutorial, and then I've sort of kind of gone and done other things afterwards, struck up a conversation, and I've got some great friends there that, you know, it's just been a good two-way conversation. I mean, Shabty is a good one. The number of different ideas and bits of feedback I gave him over sort of like an 18-month period, and he took on board so many of them. And they weren't all just my ideas. They were just different things that I'm creating a tutorial for something. I think, well, that'd be quite good. And then someone will come back with feedback on, oh, it would be good if it did this, and I'll pass that on. And it's sort of expanded the product way beyond what it started off with. And I think it's been really, really useful. So, yeah, that's just what I wanted to sort of say. But I'm going to wrap things up there, if you don't mind. I'm conscious of the fact, like I say, it's nearly 9:20 in the UK, and I'm sure you've probably got plenty of things to do in the rest of your day. So let me just quickly say thank you so much for joining in tonight's live stream. Thank you to all the new people that have popped in, got involved in the chat, the conversation. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and you'll come back in 2 weeks' time, and we can carry on the conversation with another set of topics. You can get some questions, so you can ask them for me in the distance. Don't forget to go and hit subscribe and go check out those channels that I mentioned in the video tonight. And take care of yourselves. Look after yourselves. And I'll see you all in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you very much for joining in. And I'll see you all soon.